It's way early for him.
Good evening. Welcome to tonight's Flagler County. Oh. Good evening. Welcome to tonight's Flagler County Planning and Development Board meeting. Today's March 14, 2023. Roll call, Gina.
Michael Boyd,
Here.
Timothy Connor, excuse me, Jack Corbett,
Here.
Heather Haywood,
Here.
Mark Langello, and Anthony Lombardo had advised us he was not going to make it this evening, and Fernando Melendez.
Here.
And
Would
we
you
do-
please rise?
We
for the
do
Pledge
have
of
a
Allegiance?
quorum.
I pledge allegiance
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so item number 3 is to approve February 14th, 2023 regular meeting minutes. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Motion is approved. So we do have a process of quasi-judicial process in tonight's meeting. The audience should refrain from clapping, booing, or shouts of approval or disagreement to avoid potential legal ramifications and possible overturning of a decision by the courts. A public hearing must be fair in 3 respects: form, substance, and appearance. We will be observing time limits, staff 10 minutes presentation, applicants 15 minutes presentation unless extended by this board. Public comments are 3 minutes per speaker, 5 is speaking on behalf of a group, and applicants' rebuttal and closing staff comments 10 minutes each. Item number 4 is a quasi-judicial requiring disclosure of ex parte communications. Does anybody on this board have any disclosures? Okay, so application number 3340, request for a setback variance for a proposed replacement home in the MH1 Rural Mobile Home District. Adam?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I've got a few slides to go through that will be pulled from your staff report. So we have the future land use map here starting us out, and that shows residential low-density rural estate land use. That's a 1 unit per acre designation. And then you have the zoning displayed here. Rural mobile home is what's in the vicinity. And so that's also a 1 acre requirement, typical lot size or typical parcel size on those for consistent structures. Flood zone is zone X, not a special flood hazard area for us, and none nearby. Soils map is good, both fine sands that are in the area. And so that also would indicate to us the presence of no wetlands, and we have none affecting this property. And here's the aerial, and that kind of starts us out. And you saw the parcel size also described, and this being just a single lot, lot 7, and then part of lot 8. And so it's got a small size. It's a lot of record. It's bounded on effectively 3 sides by streets. So at the north you have Oak Avenue, which is a dirt lane, and then along the west side, I think that's Main Street, I think is how it's designated, and then County Road 13 to its south and kind of southwest. And so that kind of sets all that in motion. And then here's that plat that we had for Knox, for the Knox plat. That shows the portion, all of Lot 7, and then that portion of Lot 8 then that we're grabbing, kind of puts it all into some perspective where you can see those lot lines a little closer. And then how this looks in the modern today, what's on there now. You have the single wide mobile home that's present on the property. And then you have those streets that are there. That setback, look at how far back we are for the lot line. And again, realizing property appraisers and aerial superimposed with these lot lines or these parcel lines, but you have a fair amount of green space that's in between the actual pavement edge before you get to the actual construction, the home itself. Again, we do think there's an offset that's here, but still realizing that you do have a considerable amount of area that's there for both right-of-ways, especially on Main Street and on County Road 13 to the south. And I'll state also for the record, no plans for us in widening either of those streets in any time in the near future. And so that's that single wide that's there, put on the property in 1975. And Mr. Wooden's proposal is to take that single wide off that you saw on this property, on this survey that's provided, and replace it with a stick-built conventional home. So the Knox Jones plat, you saw those two parts there, 0.13 acres is our parcel size. The replacement of the 75 single-wide mobile home with a conventional stick-built home is his proposal. And that then brings into consideration the uniqueness of the parcel shape, lot of record, and then that future possible replacement of the septic tank and drain field. And that's what his biggest concern is, realizing that the septic tank and drain field are on the north end of the property. And that's where we've got potentially some conflict with this. This is before the fact variance. This has not been any work there that's been initiated by the owner in advance of this. And so you can see, here's the plan, the submitted sketch for us. And then you can see that dashed line that's here. So I can draw your attention to that. And that has our 20-foot side setback on the secondary street side, 25 feet off of the principal street frontage along County Road 13. So we're seeking the two variances here. You can see how that would lay out. And when we talked with the owner about it before, can you move your house? Sure, if I did that, though, then I'm getting closer potentially to my drain field in that situation that I don't know exactly what's back here. And realizing there's a big oak tree that's there that's likely within the Oak Street right-of-way itself, aptly named, but that oak tree then would have its roots certainly run over into this parcel, would have the shade, the branches, all of that inclusive onto this property. So that would affect the placement of any future septic tank drain field, any modification that would be needed. And so you can see, we talked also about, can you want to cut off the decks or something like that, but it would still have a portion of the home that would still remain within the setback. So we were looking for both that secondary street side and the front setbacks variances. So you have two of those in play. And options available for you, and these are repeated from the staff report. You would have a finding all variance criteria have been met, and that a 10-foot front yard setback variance from the required 25-foot front setback and a 10-foot street side or west side yard setback variance would be approved from the minimum 20-foot street side yard setback at 3052 County Road 13, or the option for denial, and there you would find that the variance criteria have not been met, and you would deny both of those variances for the property, or you would continue this request to a time and date certain. With that, I'll close, wait any questions or comments. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Wooden is in the audience for any questions or any more of a presentation you have from him. Thank you.
Thank you, Adam. Would the applicant like to come and present?
Good evening.
State your name, please.
My name is Steve Wooden. Not really much. I mean, that was a perfect presentation of exactly what my intent is. My concern is that in the future, not if, but when, the septic tank needs to be replaced and the new drain field, because there's no septic mound on the property now, there's going to need to be one. My concern is if I build it within the current setbacks without a variance, in the future, then that's going to be a problem. So if I can solve the problem now, when the problem in the future with the septic happens, won't be a problem. I've got a place for it, and it's already been planned for. So just trying to resolve problems before I know they're going to happen. Other than that, it's, it's got a 12 by 65 mobile home on it now from the mid-'70s, and I'm replacing it with a 24 by 48 house, so 770 square feet to about 1,100. So I'm not building a mansion. I'm not, going 2 stories. It's a very simple 2-bedroom, 1-bath house for me to live in, and it's me and my dog. So not going fancy or doing anything crazy with it. So I can answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody on the board have any questions? Go right on ahead, Mr. Langelo.
Thank you. I'm sorry for being late. I have 2 questions. One, where is the well? I didn't see it on any of the stuff. Where is the well on this property?
Right up here in front, wasn't it? Am I
Where the
close?
letter P is in that corner, that's.
The P, that's for pump?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay.
Yep,
All right, and that's why you were saying you couldn't move it over.
right.
Only other question I have is kind of silly. Who's awesome mediator guy?
That's me.
Okay.
I'm a mediator.
All right, that's right. Thank you.
No problem.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question. Adam, that property that's, I guess it's county property on the corner there where it's mowed and all, the county maintains all that?
No.
Adjacent owners typically maintain their property from the pavement edge to their property. That's the expectation. We maintain it sometimes.
You need the shed for your mower, I guess.
Sure. There's actually no space for a shed, a garage, or anything. There is a shed on the back of the property, the north, where the yellow part where it says drain field mound, there's a shed sitting right there, roughly where the septic tank is. But yeah, that's, my understanding is that this was platted out in the early 1900s with an 85-foot right-of-way for Main Street. It's Espanola. I mean, in my lifetime, in my grandchildren's lifetime, they're never going to need 85 feet or 80 feet of right-of-way, but it's there, so the grass grows and it gets mowed.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any more questions from anybody on the board? All right, so at this time, I will open it up to the very crowded public up there.
Thank you for your time.
If anybody wants to come up, please do so now. Seeing none, we'll bring it back to our board, and
Chairman,
yes,
I'd like to make a motion that I find that he meets the criteria and that I would grant the variance
I'll second
as,
that.
as provided in staff report.
and you'll second that, okay. So we have a motion and a second. I'll entertain a motion. Those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. Motion is approved. A unanimous vote. All right. Next item would be, where is it at? Item 5, another quasi-judicial requiring disclosure of ex parte communication. Does anybody have any disclosures? All right, so this is application 3343, request for right side setback variance for proposed screen enclosure in the PUD district. Adam?
Yeah, this one's for, again, maybe a little unique situation for us. I'll go through the maps again. Future land use map shows it all mixed use low. It is part of the Hammock Dunes DRI. And then planned unit development for our zoning that's in place. This is North Shore Plat 3, excuse me. And then this flood zone just missed this lot for whatever reason. The one to the north is within the special flood hazard area, but this one's high and dry. And our soils all along in this area, even with the flood zone in place, fine sand and predictably no wetlands other than those that were created. And you can see then from this, aerial here, we'll go back to this one, that the backside of the property is a man-made wetland area, a retention pond, backs up to the golf course. So we don't have anybody on the backside. This being on the right side or the north side is where we're seeking this variance. So 0.34 acres parcel size, proposed screen enclosure to be installed over a pre-existing pool deck. Variance request based on the extent of the pool deck. This is also before the fact variance, so this is not someone seeking forgiveness. This is someone seeking permission before we move forward. And so you had this graphic that's in your packet, that lake area, the golf course to the top of the screen here. That's the west side. The north side or the right side being to your right hand here. And then that's where the applicant has circled in the 10 feet. And so that it had shown 15 feet in the part that was scratched through, and that was the measure from the property line to kind of a witness line that ran from the back corner of the home. So you can see where the deck was drawn in with the 5 feet. And I think I covered that in the staff report of what we think the timing was on when the deck had happened. Pretty clear in the PUD development agreement and the plat addendum that the intent was a 15-foot side setback. And this owner now then inheriting that deck and then wanting to screen in effectively the existing deck and the pool. And so if you can imagine, one of the justification statements that was included by the applicant was that if they were to come in and put in the screen room at the compliant location, it would be very close or maybe even potentially within the pool itself. And so you'd have it roughly at this line here, and that coincides very close with the pool portion itself. So we, again, have these three options for you. The approval would be finding the variance criteria have been met, and then approving a 5-foot right side or north yard setback variance from the minimum 15-foot side yard setback for a screen enclosure at 49 North Shore Drive. Denial would find that the criteria have not been met and would deny that variance request. Continuance would continue it to a time and date certain. And applicants present for any questions or comments that you have, I'll submit my report for the record. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Adam. The applicant would like to present. State your name for the record, please.
Hello, Wesley Cordell. I'm the contractor for the screen enclosure. But basically, he purchased the property, pool deck was there, and he just wanted to build a screen enclosure over it, and we're into that existing side setback. So to go with what we need a variance to build it right there. We have to add a footer underneath the pavers, and then build the structure. So if you look on the survey, the existing pool deck lines up with like it's a half wall, where it says the 0.67 foot wide CB wall. That's right where the pool deck lines up with currently.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions for the applicant?
I have for staff.
Staff? So go ahead.
So I have a question. So the pool deck to the enclosure, that's going to be a pavered area, or?
The enclosure is 2 inches from the edge of the pool deck, on the perimeter.
Right.
So that 5 feet is what's currently there to the edge of the pool.
Okay. So it's just pool deck and then your enclosure.
Correct. That paver pool deck is already there currently.
okay.
We just have to tear up the pavers, install a footer, reinstall the pavers and build a screen enclosure.
Thank you.
Well, a couple things. One, if I understand this correctly, that 10-foot is where you're going to end the screen area.
That's where we'll end up, yes.
They go 10 feet from the property line.
Correct.
So Adam, your narrative had a point in there about we grant the horizontal feature, but now when they come in to get a vertical feature, and again, it's not the same applicant, it becomes a problem. Have you looked into other municipalities, just out of curiosity, and to see what their setbacks for screen enclosures and stuff are? I mean, ours is 15 feet, and is that normal, or are we over and above at 15 feet anyway? I mean, this is just a point of reference to see what, are we creating something that's just not done anywhere? And because we're allowing the pool deck, and I'm assuming they could have put that pool all the way up a foot from the property line, you know, because they have to have the structure within their property, but they could have put that floor, and then what do you do?
Quick answer, I have not checked with others and not even those in our backyard, Palm Coast or Benell or any of those that, and the language I'd say is not uncommon for us, that I think I've encountered this before.
This is established through a plat addendum.
Right, and so this is not going to
Agreement
be,
between the developer and the county.
Okay, this is part of the PUD agreement that they submitted, but
Right.
what is our normal thing? It's the same thing, right?
well, we have a separate, we have a separate requirement for pools, pool decks, screen enclosures, that's called out in the LDC, and so that will give you a reduced rear. I think you're meeting the same side yard that's there, and I've seen jurisdictions that will count the screen enclosure as part of the home because of its typical height, and so you usually have some massing consideration there. You know, we talked about internally at the staff level that we've had some creative solutions to this in the past where we've had a deco drain installed to separate an area that's pool deck that's on the pool side from other hardscapes, so that, you know, where I thought you may have been heading, and that could be possible, is that you'd have some other hardscape that could potentially extend to the property line, assuming there's no drainage or utility easements there, that could do so long as it's not pool deck. Where we would have, in our code, we'd call out pool decks and would consider as part of the overall planning, we'd want the contractor to expect that a pool deck today becomes tomorrow's screen enclosure.
Right.
And so we want them to prep for that. And that's why I think that language that we have in the LDC is like it is. But as Gina mentioned, this is a little bit of a peculiarity because this one's a plat addendum where it was an agreed upon condition, negotiated effectively and approved by the Board of County
That the
Commissioners.
pool and the pool deck could extend into that area. That's part of their plat?
Not in this one. This one, it would have observed the 15-foot also. And I think you saw how I addressed that. I think we had gone through and looked at the records and did find out that it was permitted and can't give a good explanation of why
So,
it did not
okay, so
observe the 15.
that's what I was a little confused about. So if they were to follow, if this original house was to have followed the regulations, this condition would not have happened.
Correct. Yes, sir.
That makes me feel better about it, because I'm thinking we're just creating an issue that we're allowing something that we know, I mean, it's in Florida, these are nice homes. I mean, why they built this pool without a screen enclosure in the first place is almost beyond me, but they're gonna want a screen enclosure, you know? So it isn't their fault, they live here in Florida and they're gonna expect to put something around their pool, and we've created a condition that they can't if they were, you know, so this is not actually, this condition was actually caused maybe a long time ago that would not preclude other people from being in the same situation.
It could. We hope it's not gonna happen that often, but it could be elsewhere.
Okay, so I mean, I'm being creative here, and criteria one, the unique topographical issue could be that this pool happens to exist where it normally shouldn't.
Yes,
'Cause it's
that's
a, you know, that is a feature now of the property. Okay, thank you.
So Adam, so are we creating a precedence here?
No, I think you have, and maybe I'll defer to Sean if I think each of these are on their own merits when you're considering a variance, and I don't believe so with this. And certainly the pre-existing condition, I think, is something that should weigh into your determination with this.
All right. Any other questions for the applicant or staff? No? Thank you.
We've also had HOA approval already, so everything's been approved by the HOA.
Mr. Chairman, also, I neglected on both this and the prior application to say that the obvious, we did submit public notice. We had no inquiries that came in either via email or phone inquiries, any of those that I'm aware of. And I think you probably see that with the gallery tonight.
We do have the HOA approval, you have that?
Yes, I think.
Should have submitted that with the permit, I think.
Yeah, I think I've seen it. I don't remember putting it in the packet.
Here, yeah.
I think so. All right, well, we'll take it out to the public. If anybody wants to come up and discuss this, please do so now. Seeing no one, we'll bring it back to the board.
Mr. Chairman, if you have that, could you give that to staff, that approval?
Should have been submitted, I thought.
As long as he has it, again, I would make a motion that he does meet the criteria, and that way we grant it, as long as we do have that approval. We're not creating a hardship to, in the neighborhood.
I'll second the motion.
So we have
That is conditional on him having that thing to give the,
The HOA approval.
the HOA approval.
all right, so
Just waiting for
can
him
he,
to.
yeah, that's what I'm waiting.
No pressure. Tick, tock, tick.
Been on for almost a year.
I'm sure that's something that he can give later, right?
Position right.
Mr. Chairman, the motion could be subject to that
Condition.
HOA
Okay.
having approved it. and-
All right, so we'll do that. Then I'll entertain at this point a motion.
I made a motion, and I would make the motion just clear that it is subject to that approval.
All right, and we have a second? Yeah, we did. All right, bring it back to the board for any further discussions on this? All right, so we have no discussions. All those in favor of approving application
3343.
3343, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed signify by saying nay. Application approved. Thank you. Application is approved. Do we have any staff comments?
No comments. Thank you all.
Further board comments?
Comments?
So at this time, I will entertain a motion for adjournment.
I'll make the motion.
I second.
All right. That was, I think, a broken record, right, that we beat you?
Not quite, but you're close.
No, I think he holds the record last year.
Yeah, he had
I think he had a 16,